Good afternoon, guys. This is Mr. Fred Olali. I want to take you through a unit in Mercantile and shipping practice. This is for students taking ABMA, Shipping and Logistics, Level 4. And our unit for today is Mercantile and shipping practice. Now, straight away, we'll go to topic 1. And topic 1 is talking about the procedures for importing and exporting of goods. Now, as you all know that in the world trade, there are various activities which are involved for cargo to be moved from the port of origin to the port of destination. And what normally makes one to believe that a particular cargo belongs to you is the documentations which accompany this cargo. So documentation is a very, very important aspect in shipping. And for anybody who is involved in shipping, proper documentation is something which has got no question. It is a must that it must be done in the right way. And the shipper, mostly the exporter, has the mandate to prepare these trade papers and send them to the importer on the other side of the land. And normally the documentation starts with the intending importer making an inquiry about the goods he wants to buy from the intending seller, which is in case we'll call a consignor or an exporter. Once the exporter receives this document about the order, he assesses them, then also he responds in documentation. So we want to see some of the common import and export documents. And it is said that there are many documents involved in the international trade. And such as we have the ones which are categorized as, we can categorize them as commercial documents. We have commercial documents. We have financial documents. Some are categorized as financial documents. We can also categorize as the transport documents. The transport document, insurance documents. Insurance documents. These are just groupage the way they are good, and many other international rated documents. So in processing the export consignment, documentation may be executed in up to 4 contracts. That is the export sale contract. We have what is termed as the export sales contract, the contract of carriage, that is of movement of goods from the point of origin to the importer's destination. We have the contract of finance. The contract of finance, this is now involved the monetary transactions between the exporter, between the buyer and the seller, and the contract of cargo insurance, just the same way we have talked about those ones. So it is therefore important to understand the role of each document and its requirement in the international trade. So let's start with the commercial documents. In the commercial documents, we have what called quotation. Quotation is just an offer to sell goods, and it should state clearly the price. This is normally given by the exporter after receiving the inquiry from the intending buyer that I want to buy these goods from your company or from you. So he will give his quotation that, okay, you want to buy a bale of mtumba. This is my price. This is the quality of those items. The quantity is this, and the trade terms. Now, trade terms here, when talking about the trade terms here, we now refer to the so-called Incoterms. The Incoterms, which has evolved after every year. We have changes, and we have right now, I think you are aware, we have Incoterm 2020. which came into force January 1st, January 2020. So it is the one which will run until 2030. Then from 2030 again, we'll have another Incoterm. So it's normally being revised each and every time and again. So you'll agree, the seller and the buyer will agree which type of Incoterm should we use. Should we use free on board? Should we use CIF? Should we use the CFR and all that and many other which are remaining? Delivery terms and the payment terms. So they'll agree on all these ones. So whoever prepares the quotation is the exporter, just the same way I said. Then we have another document which follows this is the sales contract. What is a sales contract? Is an agreement between the buyer and the seller stipulating every detail of the transaction. So a sales contract is an agreement between two or more parties. So in this, sales contract is simply an agreement between the buyer and the seller, and it states details of the transaction. And since this is a legally binding document, it is therefore advisable to seek legal advice before signing the contract. So you as the buyer, or you as the seller, these terms of sales or these terms of trade, they need to be done by a legal expert, so that you find that the terms are favorable to you, whoever is buying or whoever is selling. Okay, so it is good if you don't understand them, involve your legal expert or you call the services of a legal expert, because normally terms of the terms and conditions, they're normally written in very fine prints, very small prints. So sometimes you may not even have that time to read them, as majority of people are poor readers. Inside it, there is that part which is going to tie you. There's that particular part which is a clause in it, which may make you not to get whatever you want, or make that invalidate that particular contract, or make it become invalid. Then we have another document here. It's called pro forma invoice. Now this is provided by the supplier prior to the shipment of the merchandise. So pro forma invoice, you must know how to distinguish between a pro forma invoice and the commercial invoice. This is normally sent before the shipment arrives, prior. Okay, understand that word, prior. That's before the shipment arrives, and it gives information to the buyer of the kind and the quantity of the goods to be sent, their value, and importation specifics, that is in terms of weight, in terms of size, and all other characteristics. So it is not issued for demanding payment. So this is not a document which can be used to demand for payment. For demanding payment, we use a document known as commercial invoice, but not a pro forma invoice. So, but may be used when applying for an import license, when you want an import license or permit, or arranging for foreign currency or other funding purposes. And in Kenya, this document is very important because we use it to prepare a document which is known an IDF. So IDF normally in Kenya, we prepare it by extracting the details in the pro forma invoice, because IDF is normally prepared before the goods arrive, and the only document we have at hand during that time is the pro forma invoice, because the commercial invoice is not yet there. Now, the commercial invoice, this is a formal demand. It is a formal demand note, and I underline the word demand note. It is a formal demand note for payment issued by the exporter to the importer for the goods sold under sales contract. So it should give details of the goods sold, payment terms, and the trade terms. So it is also used for customs clearance of goods and sometimes for foreign exchange purposes by the exporter. All these are prepared by the exporter. So a commercial invoice is sent to you once the sale has been done, you have accepted the consignment. It has been sent to you, you have accepted it. Now the seller wants you to pay him. So he sends you a document known as the commercial invoice. Then you have a packing list. It's as simple as the name suggests. It gives details of the packing information of the goods shipped. So yeah, it explains if it is maybe let's say you're importing phones, then it will give you how many iPhones are there in terms of unit or in terms of numbers, how many Technos are there, how many Samsung are there, and all that. So it gives the description. Then inspection certificate. Now, as a requirement, most countries, Kenya being one of them, require that goods coming from foreign countries must be accompanied by inspection certificate. And it is normally, there are various companies which they have assigned to conduct this inspection across the globe. Like we have those ones, the companies like we have SGS for inspecting goods coming from Europe. We have got Bureau Veritas. We have also for the cars which we import from Japan, we have got JEFIC. They have to be accompanied by that. So this one is very important, and we normally also call it as COC, a COC certificate, or in full, certificate of conformity, which is a must for goods coming to Kenya. And as I've said, that it justifies that those goods were inspected in the country where they're being shipped from, and they found that they have met the criteria that is required for them to be shipped. Okay, so that is important. Then we have insurance policy. Now, we know that international trade is prone to a lot of risks or perils. And due to these uncertainties, we can lose our cargo as the goods are coming. So it is required that, is a requirement that all the importers or all the people who are involved in international trade to insure their cargoes. And we have got two Incoterms that cater for insurance. One is called the CIF, that is Cost Insurance and Freight. And we have got CIP, Cost Insurance Delivered at Place. So these are the two insurance, the two Incoterms, I mean, that caters for the insurance of cargoes prior to their arrival. Okay, and remember that in most cases, insurance are procured by the exporter. The exporter is the one who procures the insurance on behalf of the importer. But we normally have what we call insurance clauses. There's clause A, clause B, and clause C. Clause A being the most expensive, C being the medium, and B being the medium, and C being the least. The seller is obliged by the law to only procure clause C. That is the cheapest one. So if you see that your cargo is more expensive to be procured or to be secured by clause C, then you pay the difference. Maybe clause A, you want clause B was covering up to maybe let's say up to 10 million, and clause C is covering up to 2 million, and you want that. So the importer will cater for the 2 million. The exporter will cater for the 2 million, and then you'll bridge the gap. The remaining amount you'll pay by yourself. So insurance policy is a must, and currently in Kenya, various organizations are advocating for exporters or for traders, I mean, to secure local insurance. One of those organizations which are dealing with this is East Coast Secretariat. East Coast is one of the organizations which are normally try to fight for the rights of traders to ensure that they get cheaper rates in terms of shipping and ensure that they get better services or better offers. So they are advocating for that. Instead of us securing insurance internationally, we secure the local insurance. For one, with the local insurance, like we have Amaco, we have Jubilee, we have these several local insurance companies. If we secure them with them, it is easier for us to make a follow-up. In case there's a loss, it is easier for us to go to them and face them for compensation. But if you secure it with an insurer in China and there is a problem, if you make a phone call, hello, this is so-and-so, you covered my cargo and my cargo is lost and needs compensation, the moment he hears that, he will start talking to you in Chinese, and there you may not get compensated, you see. Yeah. So it becomes a loss on your side. So insurance is important. Then another product which is another document that is important is product testing certificate. Now this satisfies the product are conformed for certain international or technical standards such as product quality, safety, and specifications. So these are prepared by accredited laboratories. First, product testing certificate, like in Kenya, we have KEBS for quality control. Okay, so here when we're talking about for this, we have KEBS. KEBS is the body that is mandated to provide product testing certificates for goods which are imported from international. Then we have health certificate as another document issued by competent country when agricultural or food products are being exported to certify that they comply with the relevant legislation in the exporter's country and were in good condition at the time of inspection prior to shipment and fit for human consumption. This is also very important. The health certificate, like in Kenya, we use what called the health certificate is provided by a body known as the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health, they issue that. But for agricultural products, we have what we call KEFIS. KEFIS will issue you with certificate to justify that whatever the food product being brought in the country, the agricultural product brought in the country or going out of the country, have met a given standard that is required for importation or for exportation. If they're coming, they're going out of the country, they issue that certificate that is issued by a body known as KEFIS. Okay. Then we have the phytosanitary certificate. Now, this is a frequent international requirement that many consignment of plants or planting material importing into a country shall be accompanied by phytosanitary certificate. The phytosanitary certificate issued by the exporting country, stating that the consignment is found substantially free from diseases and pests and conform with the current phytosanitary regulations of the importing country. But plants also have got diseases. It is not only the human beings which have got virus and bacteria and plants, and animals. Even plants also have got they can spread certain diseases to other plants. So then, if maybe you are importing seedlings, we can import seedlings. Then these seedlings, you must ensure that they are accompanied by a certificate of phytosanitary certificate inspected in the country of exportation and found that they meet the required standard. Like application of the certificate in Hong Kong should be made to the Agriculture and Fisheries Department. They give that. So even if you are selling them, then we have this again, Farmigation Certificate. Now, this is a certificate which shows that whatever you are exporting is free from pest. Like we know that mostly in international trade, we do use pallets. Pallets are wooden materials that are used to stuff goods. Then they're being packed in containers. Being that they are woods, we know weevils like woods. So they will always want to, they may fit themselves inside those ones. And then when you're exporting, you find that instead of exporting maybe tea, you're exporting weevil. And that your cargo may be returned that it failed to meet the international standard. So you are required to provide a fumigation certificate, which means that they have been fumigated, they've been sprayed, and they are free from pest. Okay, so that is also important. Another one is what we call 88 Canet. This is an international custom document used to obtain duty-free temporary admission for goods such as exports for international trade fairs, samples, and professional equipment into the country that are signatory to the ATA Convention. Now, ATA Canet, sometimes we do have what we call international trade fairs or international trade shows. In these international trade shows, people come from different parts of the world to come and showcase whatever they have. And remember, whatever, they're just showcasing it for marketing purposes, after which they are going to carry it back to their country. Are you getting that? So with that, when this happens, it means that they should be allowed to bring it duty-free temporarily, but for a given time frame. When that time frame elapses, they are required to return it. And then because if they don't return it, it will be assumed that they imported that particular product and they imported that particular product and they need now to pay the duty. So the AT Canet allows you even to move with your car from Kenya to Tanzania bila kulipa ushuru, without paying the required levies or taxes. I mean, you go and you can drive it there for a given period of time, then drive it back again. Okay, the same it allows other foreigners in the street. You can see sometimes you're seeing a car being driven in front of you having a foreign number plate. They came through this using this document. This document is what allows them to cross the border and allows them to freely be driven in our roads without being stopped. Okay. Then we have what called a consular invoice. Now, these are documents required by some foreign countries showing shipment information, such as consignor, consignee, the value description, certified by a consular official of the importing country stationed in the foreign country. So it is used by the country's customs official to verify the value, quantity, and the nature of the shipment. Now, consulars, we have got countries normally have got their representatives in these foreign lands, and these representatives, there are certain countries when you are exporting from. Their countries need that let their consular representative or officer justify that truly this cargo is coming from this country and it has met the required standard, and it issues what we call a consular invoice. So it depends with the country. Then we have another category of documents. This is called transport documents. Now, these are what the types of documents that allow cargo to be moved they allow cargoes to be moved from one point to another. One, we have what called a shipping order. What does it mean? It is a document that gives details of the cargo and the shipper's requirement, and it is normally a basic document for preparing the transport documents such as the BL, airway bill, etc. Who prepares it? Prepared by the shipper of the transport companies. Then we have what called the dock receipt, or what sometimes is known as the mate receipt. Now, it is a receipt to confirm the receipt of cargo on a quay or a warehouse pending shipment. So the dock receipt is used as a document to prepare a bill of lading. It has no legal role regarding the processing of the financial financial settlement. Now, what I mean here is this: once your cargo has been received at the dock, waiting to be loaded on the departing vessel, you will be issued with what's called a mate receipt as an acknowledgement that we have received your cargo. We are still waiting for the processing of the bill of lading by the shipping line. So the moment the bill of lading is completely processed, then it will be replaced with the bill of lading. Okay, so it is just like an acknowledgement receipt. Yes, we have received. So have this as an evidence that your cargo was received successfully at the dock for loading. But when the one which has got a legal binding between you and the shipping line is called the bill of lading, which is the next one here. So what is a BL? It is a document that evidences the contract between the shipper and the carrier. And the customer usually needs the original as a proof of ownership to take possession of the goods. You cannot present a duplicate of a BL for you to give your goods, not to be given your goods. No, you must provide or present an original bill of lading, okay, which was provided to you by a shipping line. So there are two types. We have what we call a straight bill of lading, is an unnegotiable, and we have one which is also negotiable, what we call order bill of lading, also what we call it. It can also be termed as the title document. It can be bought, sold, or traded while goods are in transit, and is used for many types of financial transactions. So a straight BL, if it is written to Anthony Kariuki as the owner of those goods, you can't change it. It remains Anthony. But order BL you can have what called a notifying party on it. Okay, so it can be, which means that goods can be sold even along the way, and you change the party there, the notifying party. Then we have another category of BL. It's called a house bill of lading. Now, sometimes you find that your cargo cannot make a full container load, which means that the cargo you have maybe it's just one pallet or two pallets. So for this cargo to be shipped, the container must be full. So what is done is that we have people called consolidators. If you have a less than container load, you present your cargo to a consolidator or a freight forwarder, and your freight forwarder will look for a consolidator who will look for another trader going the same direction, the same port where your cargo are being taken to. Where cargo are being taken to. Then, after getting another trader who also has got less than container load, these two or these different cargoes, so long as that they are compatible, they are put together in one container. So remember, in this container we can have cargoes for party A, cargoes for party B, cargoes for party C. Then now, the party A, B, and C, each one of them will be issued with a document known as house bill of lading by either a freight forwarder or an NVOCC or by the umbrella name Consolidator. Then this freight forwarder or the so-called consolidator will go to a shipping line, and a shipping line will issue him with what called a master BF. But he issues to the shippers a house BF. So the contract of shipment is between, in house BF, the contract of shipment is between the shipper and the freight forwarder of the consolidator. While the contract of carriage of goods via sea is between the freight forwarder and the shipping line, that is through the master bill of lading. So advantages include that there's less parking, lower insurance premiums. Yeah, there will be lower insurance premium because insurance premium may be covered per container and you can share it. There's a quick transit, which is another very, very mature point here. The quick transit here is because that container is designed for one direction. For instance, come on a truck, that truck cannot branch anywhere, but the truck will move straight. It will move straight to the destined place, so it means there's no wastage of time. Less risk of damage. The reason why we say there's less risk of damage is because the cargo are compact, so there's no tanglement or tagging or movement from here to there. So that one is less risk of damage and lower rates than when the cargo are individual parcels. So lower rates here because you will share. If they're charging a container, moving a container from port of Mombasa to Uganda to be maybe 250,000, and you're 3 people who has got their cargo there, then it means that you will divide 250,000 with 3 people, so it becomes cheaper. Okay. Then we have a Seaway bill. These are receipts for cargo which incorporate the contract of carriage. So it involves the contract of the carriage between the ship and the carrier, but is non-negotiable, which means that this one also cannot be transferred to another third party. It's therefore not a title document. So this is not a title document. Only bill of lading is normally termed as a document of title. Get me right there. Airway bill is used for the carriage of goods by air. So this is basically is used in air freights. It serves as a receipt. So these are its functions. You can be asked: a receipt of goods received for delivery, and also states the conditions of carriage. It also highlights the conditions for carriage. But remember this, it is not a title document, which means it is not a document of title, which means or transferable. You cannot transfer it to another party. Okay. In short, it's an unnegotiable instrument. So these are key things which you need to understand. Then, just like we were talking about the house BL, we also have got house airway bill. So it's a consignment not issued by an air freight agent to provide the cargo description and record. Again, it is not a document. Now, this is a house BL is also a very, very common document in air freight. But remember, air freight, normally people export small parcels. And these small parcels, maybe they're being packed in a container kind of, or in a pallet kind of. So they'll issue you to cover maybe that container. They'll issue with the called house BL, just the same way I explained the house where we build, just the same way I explained the house here, they are the same. Okay. Then we also have got a master airway bill. Master airway bill covers the entire consignment inside a less than container load. Then we have shipping guarantee. This is usually a pre-printed form provided by a shipping company or a bank, given to the importer's bank, given by an importer's bank to the shipping company to replace the original transport document. So the consignee may then in advance take the delivery of goods against a shipping guarantee without producing the original bill of lading. So it can stand in place of the original bill of lading. So the consignee and the importer bank will be responsible for any loss or charges occurred to the shipping company if fault is found in the collection. So if you use this and there is a mistake, then that mistake will go to the consignee and the importer's bank, their bank. Okay. Packing list, I don't need to explain this one further. Just providing information for the transportation purposes. Giving details of the invoice, buyer, consignee, country of origin. So it gives those small details. Then let's see the financial documents. Documentary credit, a bank instrument. So we have what called a documentary credit, or DC. It is a bank instrument issued at the request of the buyer, evidencing the bank's undertaking to the seller to pay a certain sum of money provided the specific requirement set out in the documentary credit are satisfied. So this is provided by the issuing bank upon application made by the importer. So it is issuing or an opening bank that at the request of the buyer, you as the importer, you request your bank to undertake to pay the seller a certain amount of money. Okay, unaenda kwa banki yako, then you tell them that now I purchase a car from Japan and I want you to make this particular to effect this particular transaction. So you make what we call a documentary credit. Standby credit, arrangement between a customer and his bank, by which the customer may enjoy the convenience of cashing checks up to a value, or a credit set up between the exporter and the importer, guaranteeing the exporter will pay the importer a certain amount of money if the contract is not fulfilled. So it is also known as a performance bond. So this is normally prepared by the exporter, like giving an assurance that in failure to get what you wanted, then I'm going to compensate you for the loss. Okay. Then we have collection instructions, an instruction given by the exporter to his bank, which empowers the bank to collect the payment subject to the contract terms on behalf of the exporter. So it allows the exporter bank to collect the payment which are outlined in the contract on behalf of the exporter. Bill of exchange or draft is termed as unconditional written order. Call it unconditional written order, in which the importer addresses to and required by the exporter to pay on demand or at a future date a certain amount of money to order or a person bearer. So it's unconditional written order, whereby the importer is addressing it to is addressed to the importer is addressed to and is required by the exporter to pay on demand or at a future date a certain amount of money to order or the person bearer. So you made an order, then to be supplied with certain goods. Then your exporter request you that, okay, now for maybe the goods which you received, kindly make this payment immediately or by this particular date. We have another one called the trust receipt, a document to release a merchandise by a bank to a buyer. This is a document to release the merchandise by a bank to a buyer. Now, the bank, sometimes the buyer who obtains the goods for processing is obligated to maintain the goods distinct from the remainder of his or her assets and hold them ready for repossession by the bank. So a trust receipt, as we said, is a document to release a merchandise by bank to a buyer. Sometimes the banks buy for us. We don't have money, and we request our bank to help us in purchase of those goods. So they have arrived and you need them. They can be issued with a trust receipt to release them to you, so that maybe you can use it. But remember, when this is happening, you have not paid for them. And if they see that you're not honoring the terms and conditions for which they were released to you, they can repossess them. Okay. Then promissory note, a financial instrument that is negotiable, evidencing the obligation of the foreign buyer to pay the bearer. So you are is a negotiable that giving the obligation or the condition that the foreign buyer will pay the bearer, that is the exporter. Then we have government documents. One of them is the certificate of origin. This normally is a requirement to state the country from which the cargoes are originated from, or the country from which they are obtained. It is very important because in most cases it is normally used to detect by the customs to detect the level of or the type of inspection to be carried on a given product, because some countries are known for maybe terror attacks or bad name in export. They are like they are almost falling in the category of blacklist. So maybe if it is coming from a country that is known for bad names, then bad here means that they ship things which are illegal. Then that cargo, when by looking at the certificate of origin, the custom will automatically know that this one we must subject to 100% verification, or this one we just scan and pass, or this one is okay, let it just go. Okay. So that is what the certificate of origin does. So we have got import and export declaration. This is normally a statement by the Director of Customs at port of entry to give a full declaration. That's the terms of the nature of the destination, port, country, and all that. Then we have import/export license, a document issued by a relevant government department authorizing the import and export of certain controlled goods. So it is prepared by Trade and Industry Department, Customs and Excise departments. All right. So up to there, if there is any question, you are free to submit your questions through the comment tab, and I will address them in the next class. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and you at least know something concerning importation, imports So export documents, documents that are required whenever you're importing or you're exporting. They are very important. There are several, but these are just the basic ones. You need to know them in line with what your country requires. Up to next time, I say good evening and thank you very much. Bye.